Central Bank of Nigeria retains lending rates at 11.5%. Federal government disagrees with IMF on 2.7% growth projection, says 2021 to close at 3.5% trajectory. Nigeria's trade deficit falls 61% to $340 million. Plus shares in Asia Pacific were mixed on Wednesday. This is Business Express and we are reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Musa Abubakar. Now let's bring you up to speed with business development. The federal government says it's working on a conditional cash transfer for the citizenry to cushion the effect of subsidy removal, which may come into effect in the first quarter of 2022. Minister of Finance Zainab Ahmed said this at the unveiling of Nigerian development update by the World Bank Group in Abuja. This is the second time that the World Bank is launching development update on Nigeria this year. The twice-a-year development assessment report indicates that subsidy, high inflation and fiscal risk, among other factors, are major impediments on growth, despite projections of 2.7 growth in 2021 and 2.8 in 2022.
For the federal government, what we're projecting is that next year, in comparison to 2021, the federal government could be receiving 13% lower revenues in nominal terms.
To support Nigeria in making progress on this core task of lifting 100 million Nigerians out of poverty.
The report highlights the urgency of reducing inflation, subsidy removal, flexible foreign exchange management, and protecting the poor as critical measures needed to speed up recovery.
So this report for us is another wake-up call. It's like shaking everybody out of maybe the stupor that we're in to galvanize the whole of the community, so that is government including citizens, to take that bold, decisive actions that need to be taken so that we can make progress.
This need to be in place because we can job. It's not a failure of communication. It is just social reality that you never plan fully for it. And of course, those engagements still ongoing, and the provisions of the law is such that by end of February, that we should be out of the subsidy regime. That is what the Honorable Minister is emphatic.
As state governments, we are committed to supporting the federal government on this compact. We will do our bit to engage with all stakeholders and put the facts on the table so that everyone understands the danger the country is in if this subsidy continues.
Policymakers are expected to take advantage of the recommendations. Now, the federal government says it's not in consensus with the International Monetary Fund's economic growth projection of 2.7% for Nigeria for the year 2021. The Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, made this known during the Nigerian Development Update report launched for November 2021, tagged Time for Business Unusual. The IMF had reviewed Nigeria's outlook projection last month to a new 2.7% and 2.8% for 2021 and 2022, but the minister says Nigeria in the last 3 quarters of this year has seen a 3.3% growth and will improve to reach 3.5% by the end of the year. A convergence of public-private sector players in Abuja is seeking ways to harness the opportunities to be created by the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement at subnational levels. Mopland Akok reports that the initiative has been championed by the National Action on AFCFTA in collaboration with the Nigerian Governors Forum.
Nigeria joined other countries to ratify the African Continental Free Trade Agreement in December 2020 to create a single market connecting almost 1.3 billion people across 57 countries. 1 year on, Nigeria is holding discussions towards full implementation of the trade agreements. This time, the National Action Committee on AFCFTA, in conjunction with the Nigeria Governors Forum, has brought together stakeholders from the subnational levels in facilitating states' AFCFTA development strategy.
At the subnational level, the governors must clearly understand what the trade opportunities are for their businesses, for their communities. They must look for the financing that will make trade happen. They must also look for the appropriate technologies that will lead to the production of those goods in volumes.
Stakeholders say government is leaving no stone unturned towards exploiting opportunities that could grow their economies and the single market as well.
Nigeria is already utilizing regional trade opportunities, contributing approximately 76% of total trading volumes in the economic community of West African states region. But in order for all this to happen successfully, I think we need to change our mentality.
For the states, the target is to boost internally generated revenue, expand market territories, improve the ease of doing business, and grow the economy. Muplang Dakok.
The Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria on Tuesday retained monetary policy rate and all parameters. Governor of the Apex Bank, Godwin Emefiele, said members agreed to hold position and allow recovery measures sustain linger for a while. Lekatun Babatunde completes the report.
In the build-up to the last Monetary Policy Committee meeting for the year, experts had opined rates would remain unchanged, and true to that, the committee did, after studying the present fundamentals shaping the macro and microeconomy. Governor Emefiele took time to explain happenings in the monetary space, focusing on the funds injected into the economy by the central bank.
Members expressed confidence in the ongoing policies of both the monetary and fiscal authorities, which in their view was the hallmark of the current recovery and restoration of macroeconomic stability in Nigeria. They therefore called on both the authorities to look beyond the current position and plan towards attracting sustainable investment flows into Nigeria.
So far, 560,000 downloads of the eNaira app have been recorded, with modalities set for the takeoff of the Infrastructure Corporation Infracorp, while the policy on 100 for 100 seeks to support President Muhammadu Buhari's quest to create millions of jobs in 1 decade.
We want to work hard to reduce the size of foreign exchange that people come to ask for to import goods that can be produced within Nigeria. And we are really very determined to achieve this, and we are calling on the support of everybody to achieve this objective.
He affirmed the bank's position in securing deposit money banks and advised the public to seek redress on frivolous bank charges, pointing out that the apex regulator will not tolerate acts contrary to its position.
Now, the CBN Monetary Policy Committee announced on Tuesday in its last MPC meeting for the year 2021 that based on prevailing economic conditions, it decided to hold all policy parameters constant to support the enabling environment for sustained recovery. The decision of that meeting is the focus of our discussion on the program today. Our guest is CEO SD and the Capital Investment, Bolade Idakolo. You're welcome to Business Express.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, first of all, what do you think made the CBN maintain the status quo?
I believe that the CBN decided to maintain the status quo because of the constant recovery that the economy is making. And over the past few months, the recovery has been growing, and there is adequate belief that if it is maintained, it could lead to further growth in the economy.
Okay, inflation is obviously one of the factors that made them retain, but the World Bank recent report, which they launched, I think, yesterday, says that that double-digit inflation has pushed like 8 million people into poverty. So what do you make of the situation?
Yes, according to the report and from statistics from MBS, you discover that inflation has continually moderated for the past 6 months. So this gives the Central Bank of Nigeria the opportunity to look at continuous maintenance of the policy parameters to ensure that inflation goes down further. I know that that is not where we are supposed to be as a country. If we want to actually maintain what we can call growth, real growth, we should be talking about inflation of between 6 to 9%. But presently, it's reducing and is gradual, and that is why we're where we are. There are so many other factors that could have caused more Nigerians to go into more poverty, which happens to come from both the monetary and the fiscal side of the policy. So when we look at that, the IMF might not be far from the truth, but the fact is that the inflation rate is reducing, and it's a good thing.
Okay, with the decision of the MPC, is it, what do you, I mean, is there any good news from there?
Yes, so far so good. The decisions made so far has stabilized the economy, and most of the parameters are still stable so far. So the policy to hold all the parameters is not bad at all.
Okay, okay. The global output growth has remained upbeat.
Yes.
How do you see Nigeria's economy at the end of, 2021?
Yes, most of the reasons why the global output has been the way it is because of the pandemic that has really caused a lot of problem, and that is still not abated yet. And we can see that Nigeria is gradually coming out of the pandemic. Nigeria's economy is bouncing back, and with more fascinations for the people, and with more opportunities that is in the sector, I believe that Nigeria has the opportunity to bounce even faster than the other economies.
Okay, what do we need to do to really bounce faster?
Yes, Nigeria need to continue the sustained growth in key infrastructural areas that will also, there should be targeted infrastructure in key areas like transportation, in key areas like supply chain and logistics, and especially in energy, so that more of our manufacturers can actually be able to manufacture and reduce cost of production, which is one of the major problems that is driving food inflation now.
Talking about inflation, can we make actually the level of progress faster? Because really the double digit is really taking a whole lot of chunk out of people.
That is true. It has to be a gradual process, looking at where we are coming from. Inflation has risen up to close to 20% in the recent past. So Nigeria is moving gradually, and you know that there are so many challenges and headwinds that are affecting inflation in Nigeria. So we can, the pace is slow, but if it is steady, in the next couple of months, we should be able to do better.
Okay, the NNPC GMD says talked about removing fuel subsidy, which might likely take it to around 320 to 340 naira per liter in 2022. So, do you think this is the kind of decision we need at this point in time to move the economy, considering our situation?
Yes, apparently, I believe the government should have to look at it again, because removing the subsidy presently now is going to further impoverish Nigerians, especially looking at the capacity of Nigerians presently, because most Nigerians now, the purchasing power is reducing seriously, and increasing the cost of PMS and other associated fuel, this thing will cause a lot of problem for Nigerians. Another thing that we have to look at is that if the government is going to go that route of removing a subsidy, then there should be a good palliative structure that is transparent enough to be able to help Nigerians out of this. If you look at previous government, when the fuel price was to be increased, they put palliative in place, like getting enough buses at a reduced rate, transport rate to ferry people all around. But,
already there's a talk of how people can now access conditional cash transfer of 5,000 naira as transport allowance.
Yes.
And also the buses, I think.
Yes. It has failed in the past, but I hope that there will be better logistics this time around, because some of those buses are now moribund, they are parked, and they are not working as they should. So looking at the issue of the palliative, which is the 5,000, I'm concerned about data, about statistics, about how we can actually reach out to the actual people that need these funds. That is my major concern. Looking at Nigeria, for example, if we are targeting a percentage of the population, we cannot really ascertain the population of Nigeria now, because we have not been able to conduct census in the past 10 years. So if we want to actually target the people that actually need this, we need to have adequate data to be able to reach out to them. And looking at Nigeria, there could be political factors that will affect this, and it will not allow the palliative to reach the intended people.
Okay, before I let you go, the price of oil is around $70 to $80 per barrel.
Yeah.
But why is it we're not experiencing windfall?
It is concerning because Nigeria is not producing as it should. The output is not in fact, the OPEC quota, we are not meeting up with it. And the other aspect of it is that the Nigerian crude is not being purchased as it should, because most of the times, most of these crude are still in the barges, and they are not at the places where payment should be made for them. So Nigeria is not selling as it should, because of some other factors also, like the pandemic and other competitions, is not making the crude to sell as it should. And also, Nigeria is not producing even up to the quota that is allocated to it. So those are part of the factors that has reduced the windfall that is supposed to come. And also looking at what Nigeria does with interventions, with FX, is also affecting the expected windfall, because the CBN most of the time needs to intervene in the FX sector to ensure that Naira stabilizes. So it's a major challenge.
Thank you very much, CEO SD&D Capital Investment, Bolade Dakolo.
Thank you for having me.
Now, moving on, President Muhammadu Buhari has expressed satisfaction with the level of implementation of the Petroleum Industry Act so far, and urged the newly inaugurated regulatory agencies to ensure that Nigeria and Nigerians derive maximum benefits from the critical economic sector. He granted audience to the chief executives of the Nigeria Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, Farouk Ahmed, as well as his upstream counterpart, Benga Komolafe.
We facilitate and enable investment in the industry in a manner that we mitigate the effect of that energy transition. And part of the effect that is already being noticeable is funding challenges. We intend equally to ensure full digitization of the upstream activities to optimize value for the nation in the industry.
We have abundance of gas in this country, but it has not been harnessed. So we need to encourage investment in the area. Now, a lot of major oil companies like the IOCs want to invest, but the pricing framework is an issue for them. So we are working to ensure that we put the pricing framework that is attractive enough for the investors, at the same time simple enough for the consumers. Just to reiterate that, we are going to continue the bridging and the payment will be made to transporters. There's no doubt about that.
Mr. President charged us to ensure that we use our best experience to ensure that the industry is on track and do what is best in the interest of Nigeria at all times.
Now, gold prices edge up on Wednesday. How are other commodities trading this Wednesday? Let's take a look. Oil prices fell on Wednesday as the U.S.-led coordinated release of stocks from strategic reserves eased concerns over tightness in global supply. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures fell 12 cents to $78.38 a barrel, reversing out of 2.3% gain in the previous day. Brent crude futures slide 32 cents to $81.99 a barrel, having risen 3.3% on Tuesday. As the ongoing Foreign Investment Network Trade Forum in Dubai continues to draw attention to Africa, women from across the world are lending their voices to the need for more investment-friendly environment in Africa to ensure a prosperous recovery of the continent. To this end, they advocate incentives for domestic investors while attracting direct foreign investment.
For the current quarter of 2021, we are witnessing a great demand in the tourism and event sector, where Africa is a key market for us.
Offer pitching for investment, that offer training for developing your business, that offer support into developing your skill set, and offer you free advice, support, and logistics assistance for trade into and outside of the UAE into the region.
Should we focus on different sectors, for example, startups, for example, creating more entrepreneurs to solve a lot of challenges that we have? This can be one of the sectors. To think about the new sector that is appearing, ICTs, renewable energy, agriculture, how to create the policies that are very, very focused on this sector.
And now to the equities market. The equities market closed in red. The all share index closed Wednesday session at 43,245.02. 243 million shares value at 3.746 billion naira exchange hands and 3,777 deals. Equity capitalization stands at 22.565 trillion naira. Now, shares in Asia were mixed on Wednesday as other markets across the globe react to economic activities. Here's an update.
Hello and welcome to the Global Market Review. Now, the Central Bank of Nigeria voted to retain the monetary policy rate at 11.5% whilst keeping all other monetary parameters constant. This will be the 6th consecutive time this year that the rate remained unchanged. This is, however, yet to reflect on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Meanwhile, it's a different tune for Ghana's central bank, which lifted its own by 100 basis points to 14.5%. Ghana's GSE composite was marginally positive today, while other markets on the continent are mostly bearish this Wednesday. Meanwhile, investors in other continents are also digesting the latest business activity data from their regions. European stocks were mixed, with DAX dipping 0.43%, CAC 40 also 0.42%, and FTSE 100 appreciated 0.02%. Shares in Asia were mixed on Wednesday, with Japanese stocks leading losses regionally. The Nikkei 225 in Japan fell 1.58% across 29,302.66, while mainland Chinese stocks rose. The Shanghai Composite was 0.1% high at 3,592.70, and the Hang Seng Index in Hong Kong also topped 0.14% across 24,685.50. While U.S. stock futures were lower early Wednesday as rising rates continued to frighten away investors from high-priced tech shares. The Dow Jones Industrial Average dipped 0.33% at 117 points. The S&P 500 and Nasdaq 100 also depreciated. That's the Global Market Review.
Well, that's it. Business Express returns Thursday at 9:30 a.m. Be safe out there.